Teah. I am Teah Woodward, an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Vancouver, Washington, located in the United States. And I'm really excited to be here with you today. I have 3 fun projects to show you. So I go live twice a week. And on Mondays, I will show a more avid styled card. So something that's a bit more involved, has a lot of layers. I can show you what I made on Monday. So this is the card that I made on Monday, and it had blending brushes, and I colored all the flowers in live and leaves with Stampin' Blends. Sorry, stumbling on my words here. I had this beautiful lattice. So there's a lot of layers on here, and yes, and I have a heat embossed sentiment. So this is an example of one of my more involved cards. On Thursdays, so I'm doing these on Monday. On Thursdays, I'm gonna do 3 projects. Usually, it might be 2, might be 3, maybe even 4, depending on what the project is. And they're the projects that we can get down and dirty and be quick with. And I wanted to show some Christmas cards. Well, two are Christmas cards, and then one is something else. And I wanted to show those because it's time to get started on your Christmas cards. If you hand make your Christmas cards like I do, so last year I made about I think it was 146 handmade cards, and that did not include the cards that went out to my customers, and those were all handmade as well. So sometimes, if you're going to hand make your cards, they maybe are not going to be as involved as the card I just showed you. But you still want it to be pretty, right? So I've got 2 cards and a project to show you that can be done in fairly short order, and I think you'll be pleased. So, and from here on out, I will be showing you some more Christmas things than I have shown you in the last few weeks, because it's time. It's time to get going. So anyway, I'm excited to do that. It is the first of the month. I failed to print out my new host code. So I do have a new host code that will be in the description of this video when I'm able to post this afterwards. My mind just went blank. Host code. Okay, so a few different things went live today. There's some new branded merchandise. There's a mug and there's a hat. And I don't have either one of those yet because they just went live today. The hat is cream colored, it's knit, it's got a fur ball on top. The mug is, I think it's white with a gray plaid print on it. So those are now available on the website, on the stampinup.com website. There are, I think it's 6 dies that are available to match stamp sets from the annual catalog that did not previously have dies, and those dies are only available for the month of September. You can find those by going, and matter of fact, all of these things that I'm telling you about can all be found in the same spot, stampinup.com, and go to new. And when you hit the new button, everything that's new is going to appear. So those branded items that I just told you about, the stamp sets with the dies, you can either buy them as a bundle if you don't already have the stamp set, or if you already have the stamp set, you can buy the die individually. Both of those are shown in that location. And then my brain just went blank. There is a third item. These all went live just today. I'll think of it. When it comes to me, I'll mention it. Okay? So yeah, I am going to go ahead and turn the camera down so that we can get started. So I'm going to start off by showing you what the 3 projects are. And I'm going to make the 2 cards first and then the project last. And the project is short and sweet, but it's cute, in my opinion. It's personal to me. So I can see that I'm just checking on the computer to make sure I'm live, and I am, so I can move my keyboard and mouse out of the way, and I am now going to turn my camera down. And see if I can do this without making anybody sick. So I have a new phone and camera, and it holds everything in a slightly different position than my previous one did, but I think I'm pretty straight. So here are the projects that we're going to do. I have just a cute little fun fold here. Just a super simple. It's not one of the more intricate ones. We've added 1 extra score line. Then we have a Christmas card here that's a top fold, and then a tag, and this just happens to be one of the Stampin' Up! Treat bags that you can buy, and so I've just attached it to that, but I'll show you how to make this tag. So all of them are using the Christmas Banners bundle. So here, they're photopolymer stamps, and here are the detail dies. So I am excited to share all of this with you. I am going to start with this fun fold. And so let me go over some measurements. All of these measurements will be updated on, on my blog. And, oh, sorry, there's a hair wandering around here that's driving me crazy. Okay. The measurements will be updated on my blog as well as the score marks. And this video gets posted in the same location. So as you can see, this is 11 by 4 1/4, scored at 5 1/2, and scored again at 2 3/4. I guess I should have shown it to you this way. It's scored at 2 3/4 and 5 1/2 on the 11-inch side. Okay, and then it's going to sit. Let me see if I can turn this sideways so that you can see. It sits like this. So it's just a simple easel fun fold, just one of the very simple ones. I'm going to start with a piece of basic white. It's scored just as I already mentioned. I'm going to grab out my bone folder and burnish my fold lines. Now, I really like this stamp set. As soon as I saw it, or this bundle, as soon as I saw it, I immediately thought of kind of vintagey, kind of back in time kind of Christmas stuff. Not to give away my age or anything, but it did remind me of my grandmother. And just kind of that whole aesthetic that I really love. All right, then I have a piece of, this is, oh, I'm sorry, I gotta get a drink. This is a piece of garden green. It's at 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. And then I have a piece of designer series paper that is 3 3/4 by 5. So it's going to, when I adhere these together, I'm just going to have a little dinky perimeter that just kind of makes that pop and gives this some stability. Ink or adhesive. I like to use, you can use whatever adhesive you want. I like to use the multi-purpose adhesive. And it just gives me, darn it, I'm sorry for the clearing my throat. It gives me just a little bit of time to wiggle it in place so that I feel like everything is nice and even. I'm going to turn that over and give it a little squish. Then I'm going to go ahead and decorate the front of this before I adhere it to the front of, or to my card base. So I have a piece of, so I have pre-die cut everything, or I believe I have. I have a piece of vellum cardstock, and I have used the layering circle dies to cut that. I have used the second to largest die without any scallops on it. And I guess I should have told you. So the Christmas banners bundle, if you have the mini catalog in hand, so this is your mini catalog. If you have the mini catalog in hand, it's on page 11. All right, I am going to use some mini glue dots to attach this layering circle vellum piece. Now I'm going to use 4, and these are all going to be hidden by the stamped and die cut image that will be on top. So I'm going to basically center it. I'm eyeballing it. You can measure it if that is your heart's desire. Some people might position that a little higher, a little lower. I didn't want to hide this piece of designer series paper. Now I think on this one I was a little higher than center, but I had more of a white space up there. So do it however you want. And we're going to take a piece of, I like to use my Stampin' Pearson mat when I stamp my images. I am going to use garden green ink with this stamp here. I think I've got some good coverage there. So I'm going to stamp like such. And then that's going to, when I die cut this, it's going to give me room to cut my circle that's right here. And that is the second to smallest die from the same layering circles that I mentioned before. So it's the second to smallest die. When I die cut, I like to use Post-it tape to hold my die in place. And I'm going to turn this around. I think that maybe this was turned around. Yep. So I'm just wiggling that until I see all the proper perimeters. And I'm going to just tape that in place and then run this through the cut and die, Stampin' cut and emboss machine. But I have actually already done that, so I can just set this to one side. But I am going to take off my die and put it back, because if you've ever been here with me before, you've heard me mention that I have lost a die before. I've only lost one once, and it will never happen to me again. It was kind of heartbreaking. So, closing that up. Through the magic of television, there are my pieces. excuse me, and then I can set that aside. Now I'm going to grab, I've got a few different things on the desk here. I used Christmas wishes. Darn it. I did not cough all morning, but you know what? I also haven't been talking to anybody all morning. I'm going to use real red for stamping my front verbiage here. So I'm stamping Christmas wishes. So there's Christmas. Cleaning off my stamps with my Stampin' Chamois. All right, now I need wishes. That looks nice. So that is now ready to be adhered with dimensionals to the front here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Close up my ink. I am looking for my dimension. There. So I'm using quite a few because it's kind of an unusual shape, really. There we go. I'm going to use my Take Your Pick tool to remove the papers. Looking through the camera to make sure everything's visible. I'm going to have that sentiment read at just a little bit of an angle. Not a huge angle, but a little bit of an angle. All right, so next, you see I have some holly leaves on here. So I need to stamp and cut those, and I've actually already stamped and cut them. Again, because I'm doing 3 projects, I do a lot of this in advance. I'm going to use my mini glue dots. Let's see. If I can get a hold of them here. So I'm using a mini glue dot to hold. So let me show you that before I forget. There are 2 holly leaves, and they are shaped different, and there are 2 dies that match these. We're almost done with our card print. It was that easy. All right, now one more mini glue dot at the base, now that these have been joined. And I'm going to put one in this little crook right here. Oh, and I forgot to mention, so I stamped the background of the sentiment, the banner, in garden green, but the holly I stamped in shaded spruce. So I will hold up just a moment. And I forgot to tell you where I got this paper from. Now, I'm totally falling down on the job here. So this paper is from the Boughs of Holly Designer Series paper collection. I mention regularly, if you want to see any of these up close, I recommend you go on to stampinup.com, type in Boughs of Holly, and you can click through and you can see each of these prints. This is a larger poinsettia, there's a smaller poinsettia, and then here's the paper that I'm using on today's project. And then I'm going to flip this over real quick. And there's all kinds of options. Now I do like that polka dot. I personally love these. I love the trees. I love the leaves. I love this vintage look here. But the whole reason that made me think that I hadn't shown you this was, if I get this kind of close, you can see there's a couple of different greens in here. And so I'm pulling those holly, there's no holly on this page, but well, I guess arguably this could be a holly leaf. I'm pulling the shaded spruce for that darker color. And I'm using, this could have been the garden green or it could have been old olive, either one. So I've pulled in the garden green because it's kind of a classic Christmas color, and my husband is very much into the classic colors. Okay, back to this. So I was just explaining why I used the colors that I did. I am now going to pull, oh, and they went right behind my desk. Ooh, sorry about that. Okay. These are the red rhinestone basic jewels. And I'm gonna put more than I normally do on the front of this card. So I'm gonna put 3 at the base of each of these little holly clusters. That's a little too close to the word Christmas, so I'm gonna adjust their placement just a little bit. All right, and then I'll be more careful with this next one. Using my take your pick tool to just kind of move things in place before they get hardened. All right, now I'm using my take your pick tool. I'm using the clay end to pick up my gems. And I am just going to throw, man, I'm not being very good with my placement. There we are. Throw them in the middle of some of these flowers. Let's see. Oh, I really should have one more. Maybe I'll just set it off to one side here. And this all has to do with the placement of my, see on this one, I made a natural triangle. I'm just gonna throw that right there, and we're gonna call that good. Then, this is actually ready for the front of our card base. I guess that's not any good anymore. So I am going to attach this only to the lower front of the card front or card base. Okay, so below this score line only, and that allows it to fold up like such. Okay, So just going to put my adhesive just on that lower half. I am going to center from top to bottom and side to side. Just like that. Press that into place, and then this should open up just fine. I am going to flip it over and make sure I don't have any adhesive squeezing out the top, and I do not. So I'm going to flip this to the inside now. So we're done with the front of our card. Now remember, this is a less involved card so that you can make lots of them. So here is our message liner. There will be a matte layer, a message liner, and then an item that will be popped up that will allow the easel to stand up. Okay, so I need to stamp a sentiment on here, and I was pretty crooked earlier with stamping my sentiment, so let's hope I do a little bit better this time. Where'd my piercing mat go? Did not realize I knocked a few things on the ground. There we are. So I've got my orientation of my cardstock correct. And there we go. I did do better this time. Yay! I'm going to close that up for a moment. I am going to bring in a couple of holly leaves up in the corner. I feel like, so I do have the holly down here, but I really feel like I could have done something up here. So I'm just going to do a couple of holly leaves. And I like that. And I will put a red dot in there. Well, before I do that, since I have this ink open, I'm just going to set this aside for a moment. I'm going to pull in my little circle that I have conveniently covered up somewhere. Well, I know I just showed it to you, that we would be placing it. Oh, there it is. All right. So what I did with this one was I used 3 holly leaves and 4 berries. So I'm gonna do the first holly leaf. I will switch holly leaves so that I have there we go. So that we don't have all facing exactly the same way. But, you know, arguably you could use the same one for everything. It's all in your personal preference. All right. That aside, close this up. Get back out my real red. Now, See these dots right here? There's 5, and they're all on one piece of photopolymer. So I am going to strategically only ink up the ones that I want to use. So here, I'm going to just ink up one. Turn this around, and there we go. I think that looks nice. Now, earlier I used 2 and then 1, but these 2 next to each other, because of the angle I had them at, they look like a pair of eyes, and I really had to work hard to make it not look like a pair of eyes. So this time I'm going to do it a little different. I could leave it just like that. It actually looks pretty good. Or I could add that 4th berry. And that looks good too. All right. My berries back in here. Now, if you wanted to, you could use the detail dies to add pop-up elements on this piece. This was actually the second card that I made. The first one, I tried to use detail dies for the element that would hold the easel. And what I found was none of the pieces were actually big enough or strong enough. So I ended up going to a circle and realized the elements actually created too much of a puff. And so that would be fine if that was a card that you were handing to somebody. I just saw that I got a little bit of ink on here. But if you were mailing it, it was too bulky. Even, in my opinion, even for a hand stamped card. All right, so I did get a little bit of ink on there, and I'm trying to get it off. I'm using a sand eraser to at least minimize it, because I don't have time to, I think I've minimized it enough. I'm going to put dimensionals on the back of this now. Just going to put 3. I am going to wait to attach that. I am going to adhere the message liner to the matte layer. It's been very hot here in Vancouver, Washington, and the last couple of, or well, today, it's cooled down a lot, like by over 10 degrees. It was nice to get a decent night of sleep last night. We don't have air conditioning. We use fans, and we do pretty good. But sometimes at night, it can be a little bit much. All right. And gave that a nice little squish. Now I'm going to attach that in here, and the goal is that when this opens up, I see a fuzzy, like my blade wasn't maybe sharp enough, is that when it opens up, that these lines will align. So I will show you what I mean by that. So I'm going to adhere this flat. And I'm centering side to side, top to bottom. Moving this over here, making sure I have that straight. I believe I do. And I believe that looks very lined up. Okay. And I'm going to take my, uh-oh. Well, I must have some ink floating around somewhere and I am not sure where. That's disappointing. All right, so what I'm going to do is, because I'm probably going to have to restamp this for the blog, is I'm going to just attach it with one of the 3 dimensionals. So this was for the sake of me showing you how to do it. I will redo this piece before I photograph. So I'm just going to line those up and I'm placing this in the center. Well, I'm trying to. Do I not know what? There we go. All right. So that could have been a little lower. I like to have it back a little farther so that the card stands up a little taller. So can you see that? So it's just a simple easel card. Simple, simple. Will mail easily. See, it's not too terribly bulky. There is a little bit of bulk, but these rhinestones are some of our flatter gems. Okay, card number 1, done. And I forgot to tell you, I pulled the sentiment from Brightest Glow. So the sentiment that I put on the inside, there's a couple of different sentiments in here that would be very nice on the inside of a card. And I've chosen, hoping your Christmas shines bright with the love of family and friends. I'm actually using that sentiment on both cards. Okay, I'm really excited to share this next card with you. Let me move this aside. Do a little bit of minor cleanup here. But this next card, this is fun and fast. Clean, clean. Get some stuff out of the way. Part of the reason I'm cleaning is because I need to free up some blocks. And, all right. So for the next card, I'm going to be using this banner. So my 3 projects use all 3 banners. And here is the card that we're going to make now. Now this is really cool. So this was my second card as well. I'm going to show you my first card. It's pretty, but it's not as dynamic. So this one, I just used my paper trimmer to cut my Designer Series paper, my matte layer, and my cardstock. For this piece, that's what I need to bring up my, get a couple things out of the way here. I guess I didn't quite finish cleaning up. I got too excited. I was ready to go on to the next item. Okay. So for this card, I used the decal edge dies. These are new in the annual catalog. They are, let me look them up real quick. They are on page 170, or you can just go to stampinup.com and type in decal edged dies. So it's DECKLED rectangles. Okay. They are $30 for this entire set, and you will not be sorry that you invested. I think these are an absolute must. Well, they're definitely a must in my toolbox. So here you can see the difference, and they're both lovely. This is absolutely a lovely card. This one is just a little bit more dynamic, and you could easily add these detail dies over here as well. And that's what it looks like on the inside. Okay, I've pre-cut everything. One thing I wanted to mention, okay, so let's see. Let's put that cardstock aside. Or designer series paper. This designer series paper is from a different bundle. Or not bundle, from a different designer series paper pack. This is from Painted Christmas. This is in our mini catalog, and I'm just going to give you a quickie view. Just like I said before, if you want to see anything up close, go to stampinup.com and type in Painted Christmas. So there are some of the prints. The other sides are really cool too. I really wanted to use this one, and I had to limit how many projects I was doing. And there's one softer piece in here. So, stampinup.com, type in Painted Christmas. So here is the designer series paper I'm using today. And I'm keeping this piece aside because I wanted to show you. I used, for my matte layer here and for the banner, I used the craft paper pack, the 6x6 inch paper pack. Darn it, I'm going to cough again. And I picked this because of the tone and because I like the rigidity of the paper. There are some other choices of that would be a little less expensive if this isn't realistic for you. So here is what our crumb cake would look like. So it's a lighter version of this. You can see the difference. Here, I have a cut piece here somewhere. So you can see this has got more of a reddish tone and this is more of a yellow tone, but the crumb cake would work. Or this is what soft suede would look like. Or this is what early espresso would look like. Okay, I'm going to set those aside. I just wanted to show you multiple options. The color that I have used, so my card base is Evening Evergreen. My matte layer is the craft paper pack, and then Painted Christmas for the designer series paper. Get all that out of the way. All right, even get that out of the way. So do you like this card? I hope you do. I love this card. This probably is fairly reflective of what our personal Christmas cards, many of them, will look like. So this one is a card base of 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4.25. I'm going to go ahead and burnish that with my bone folder right now. This is a top fold card. So it opens like such. My matte layer on the inside and my matte layer on the outside are the same size. They are the second to largest decal edge die. No, excuse me, they are the largest decal edge die. Then my message liner or my designer series paper, they are both the second to largest decal edge die. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere my designer series paper to my matte layer. And I'm going to kind of wiggle that into a centered location. Turn it over and give it a nice little pat down. I'm going to use dimensionals to lift this off the card base just a little bit. So do you make your Christmas cards? And if you do, how many do you need to make? And figure out when you need to get started. All right, I'm going to, let's see, I like this side up like that. So I'm going to go ahead and attach that. Actually, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and attach it. Use my take your pick tool to take off my papers. And I'm going to center that. Let's see. Oh, about like such. And there we go. And it gives it just a little lift. Not a ton, but just a little. All right. So once I die cut this matte layer, I had just from the 6x6 piece of paper, I had just this much paper left over, and that was enough to stamp and cut my banner. So there's my banner. And then here's my die cut fir branches. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp my Merry Christmas on the front here, and I am going to use, and why don't I see it? Let me grab. I'm going to use a slightly bigger block because I feel like I can see the top and bottom better so that I can align the angle of my words. So for this one, I'm going to use Merry and Christmas. That's wishes, that's not Merry. There we go. And I am going to stamp this in, oh, I forgot to tell you. So I stamped this in Evening Evergreen on that craft cardstock. I'm going to use Evening Evergreen for these words. There we go. And now grab my Christmas. Very good. It could have been down a little lower, but it's not horrible. I think it's acceptable and not worth wasting another piece of paper on. I'm going to close this up. It will come back out in a minute. I'm going to put dimensionals on the back of this. So one in the center and one on each end here. And I'm going to tilt it just a little bit. There we go. Then I am going to take one of each of these greenery pieces, and it looks like I did not get all of my little details knocked out here, so I'm just going to use my take your pick tool to push those out. I was using an old set of plates instead of a new set of plates, and sometimes they don't pop out quite as easily because of that. I do have a brand new set of plates. I just have been saving them to use on camera. All right, so there's one set. And another set. Yeah, I expect my Christmas card count to go up considerably this year. I say considerably. I was at 140. I can't remember, it was 144 or 146. For some reason, I think it's 146. And this year, I'm guessing I'm going to be hitting 170. We have an expanded group of friends and such that I can't imagine leaving anybody out. I'm going to use my mini glue dots. I'm going to come up here to where those are connecting. And I'm just going to overlap them. Make a little fuller branch, almost like they're shadowing each other. Do that again with this one. All right. Now I am going to use, so I am not going to, you may want to, I choose not to. I'm not going to put any adhesive on the back of these fur areas because I like them to lift up a little bit off the page. All personal preference. Let's see here. And I'm just going to give that a push down, and as you can see, nothing is going to come out. They are attached. I just like mine to look like they're not real, but more realistic by being lifted off the page. Another thing that could be done is you could maybe use adhesive sheet before you die cut, say the darker green, the evening evergreen, and then let just the soft succulent lift off the page. That would be another option. There we go. And as you can see, nothing is going to come out. They're very much attached. Now I am going to apply just a few of these. They're called, I believe these are actually called festive pearls. I don't know why these say red and green adhesive backed pearls. They're not. I imagine that's supposed to be a pearlized version of real red. This is soft succulent silver and gold, but I believe in the catalog these are actually called festive pearls. So I'm going to put one of these here, one of these, one of these here. Did that roll over? It did. It rolled over on me, which means I didn't pick it up cleanly. There we go. So I can put that here. I think I'm going to just go ahead and put that there. All right, so the front of our card is done. I'm going to move to the inside now. We're going to do a little bit of stamping. I'm going to use the same sentiment. With any luck, I'll get it straight like I did the last one. So there's the inside of the card. Pretty good. Can't complain. Won't complain about that. And then I need this little fir branch. And I'm using soft succulent to stamp the fir branches. I'm sorry, I just hit the camera. My apologies. So oh, that really stinks. Let's see if, because it's photopolymer, if I can line it up. And if not, then I'll flip the cardstock over, and yeah, we're going to flip it over. And let's see if I get lucky stamping that sentiment again, darn it. And I stamped that in Evening Evergreen. There we go. I think I'm going to get away with that. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and adhere. Thank goodness there's two sides to that cardstock, right? I'm going to go ahead and adhere this to the matte layer. Got myself a tickle in my throat and I just can't shake it. Okay. Let's adhere this to the inside. And then we just have one project left, and it's small and easy. and I'm excited to share it with you. Whoops. That's nice. There we go, my friends. We have completed card number 2. I am going to grab a cough drop before I start project number 3. All right, project number 3. Do you like it? I hope you like it. Switching up my, let me clean up a little bit so that I only have out what I need. Let's see. Put this one away and get this one out. And I picked so 2 of the sentiments here are arced. And see, this one is arced. So one says "'Tis the season," the other says "Just for you." I'm picking, because I'm doing this on a gift bag, I'm going to say "Just for you." Now, with this sort of thing, I like to put my sentiment in the middle of the block and turn it kind of diagonal so that I can see the top and bottom, so that I can line things up. Technically, I should be able to do the same thing with this, and I don't know if it's because I have monovision contacts or what, but for some reason I can't see my perimeters as well with this. I can on straight cut cardstock, but not on a stamped image for some reason. So that might just be me. So that's why I'm positioning it like this. Okay? So now we're going to have a little bit of fun. Looking for my project basket. I'm getting the right project basket over here. So for this tag, I've pulled from the tailored tags, and I've pulled this standard cut, or this, the one that's not flourished or along the top or curved along the top. It's got the blunt cut. And this is a die for the to reinforce the holes. This one reinforces the holes on this one. So we're using this over here. All right. Then, so this is the tailored tags dies. One of the things I want to show you is, you see this, this is a bag of miscellaneous pieces of leftover adhesive sheets. So adhesive sheets come 6 by 12 inches. These are my little bits and pieces that are left over, and I like to keep these because, for instance, with this little die, I'm going to use adhesive sheet on the back. And I don't need that big of a piece. And how perfect that I don't need to cut into one of my large pieces when I've got all of these little pieces to pick from. So I just wanted to show you that little tip. Now, for this tag, let's see, I am using designer series paper from the Gingham Cottage designer series paper. And this is really fun. So what I've done is I've actually taken this piece and I have colored it red with my blending brush. So you're going to see me do that to turn this into like a Christmassy buffalo check, which I happen to decorate with in our home during the Christmas season. So I'm kind of excited to share this with you. Now, the back side of this, I didn't want just a layer of designer series paper, because at the time that I made this tag, I hadn't decided if I was attaching it to the front of the bag or if I was going to tie it. When you make these, you might not know. If you make up a bunch ahead of time, you might not know what you want either. So I actually back these with cardstock, and I will show that to you. But the Gingham Cottage collection has, it's all gingham checks. And again, go on to stampinup.com, look these up. You can see a much closer or better view. So I just happened to take one and I'm altering it. All right, got that out of the way. So now I'm ready. Here's my pre-cut Gingham Cottage piece, and then here is my pre-cut cardstock that I'm putting on the back. Oh yeah, my blade, no, that's die cut. Huh. Let me just fix some of those fuzzies right there. All right. So to color this piece, I'm going to do two different things. I'm going to use real red on the black and white check. I am going to, because when I use the blending brush, I will still end up with this white edge over here. So I like to take my sponge dauber and I will go right around the edge so that when this is attached to this, I don't see a white sandwich in between. So I'm using my sponge dauber to just color that edge of the the designer series paper. It doesn't have to be super dark, it just needs to cover up the white. And then I will use the blending brush to color this designer series paper. And you can make it as light or as dark as you want. So I just wanted this to be dark enough to, there, I think I got it. We'll put this aside and I'm gonna grab my blending brush. So I'm gonna pick up some ink and I'm going to, I must have a sticky on me somewhere. I'm gonna knock off any streaky looking stuff, and I'm just going to come in and start applying ink right over that black and white. Now the back of this tag I'm making, or I've cut out in Evening Evergreen. I could have cut it out in black, but I knew that I was going to have some of those die cut fir branches from the die cut from this bundle, from the Christmas Banners bundle. I knew that I was going to use those, so I went ahead and went with the green. Now again, this is kind of unique to me. Well, not unique, but specific to what we like in our home. I have ribbons in this color. I have wrapping paper in this print. I meant to say print. I have wrapping paper in this print. All right, I think that's good enough. Even when that lightens as it dries, it's still gonna read very red. Set this aside for a minute. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to adhere this layer to this layer, and I'm going to make sure that it's the back to the back. because the dots do look quite differently. The stitch lines look much cleaner on the front and not as much on the back. So you want to make sure that you've got back to back like that. And if you wanted something, like some people, they might make to and from cards that are their tags, that they use silver or gold or something like that, pens. This would work great on here. Or you could put a white back on here. There's any number of things that you could do. I just happen to like the green finish. So I'm going to adhere these to each other. And I am applying my adhesive to the inside of that stitch line because I'm not going to purposefully have it squeeze out. It might anyway, because it looks like I got a little heavy-handed. So back to back, line those up, line up that hole. And because they were cut from the same die, which was the largest of the tailored tag dies, they should fit exact, and they do. I'm just gonna lay that down and give it a little push. Now I have already cut those reinforcements. So you're going to be able to see that, remember I told you we're going to apply adhesive sheet to the back, and it turns your cardstock into a sticker. So you just pull off the back. It's now sticky and ready to go into place. I'm going to use my Take Your Pick tool to hold it. I'm going to line up that hole. And I'm a little crooked on the front. There we go. So just pressing that into place. I'm going to flip it over and grab the other one. And this one will be Evening Evergreen on Evening Evergreen. I could have used contrast. I could have used white. I could have used black. I could have used red. But I didn't want anything to detract from the print, that buffalo plaid. That one went on much straighter. So there's our reinforcements. When we put the ribbon through, it'd be much harder to rip through the paper. It would have been hard anyway because we had already put 2 layers together, but I like the authentic look of using the the hole reinforcers. Now I have already pre-stamped my banner. I just need to stamp the sentiment. I stamped it in tuxedo, or Memento Tuxedo Black, and now the banner. And now I'm going to stamp the sentiment in Real Red. Not quite as well centered as my last one, but it's not horrible. Close up my inks. Put, I keep losing my dimensionals. Putting a dimensional. Is that too far apart? Nope. And my dimensionals were too far. Well, okay, I'm attaching this to the front of a bag, so you won't see that, but you are going to want to be more careful than I was just now. All right, let's pull this off. I'm not happy. Ugh. Where's that blending brush? My dimensional was just too far out. So was this one. I should have trusted my gut when I questioned myself in the first place. Let me do that again. Here we go. More better. There we go. All right. Let me put this so that you can see it. Then for this one, we just have one piece of greenery coming out each end. Oh, this one needs to be knocked out as well. So I'm just knocking out those little bits and pieces. So there's one. We're almost done with this. All right. Mini glue dot. And I'm perfectly happy having some of my greenery hang off the edge because my whole banner is, right? There we go. So I'm just kind of going off at an angle. Then I'm just adding 2 of the red rhinestone gems, one on each end of the banner. And now all we have left to do is to add our tie up at the top. So I'm going to cut a piece that's probably about 8 inches long. I'm going to end up trimming it, but it's a good starting spot. Going to feed that through. I'm not going to tie a knot because I've got a linen thread that I'm going to come in and tie a bow with. And I'm not going to trim these ends. Okay, I've twisted. There we go. I'm not going to trim these ends until after I've tied my bow with my linen thread. And this might look a little awkward because I've got this closer to my body when I'm doing it. And this is not close to my body when I've got my hands out in front like this. I'm going to tie a knot. It's also getting towards the end of my roll of my linen thread, and what starts happening is it starts to have a higher twist and a higher rigidity to the twist. tying my bow. I don't want it too big. Oh, come on. There we go. There we are. Then up here, I'm just going to cut the back one a little bit long. Whoops. A little. Okay, come on. It's just being silly now. And the front one a little shorter. One thread still attached, of course. Okay, here we are. Here is your tag. So at this point, you can decide if you're going to attach it to a treat bag like I have done here, or if you're going to attach it to your package. So what I did to attach it to the treat bag is I just added 2 dimensionals right here and stuck it right where I wanted it. So let's clear this away. And do a quick little review of our projects. So here we are. Here are the projects that we made today. Friends, I thank you so much for joining me. I will add my host code to the description. I will be updating my blog with all of these cutting instructions and product links. I will, let's see, I will be posting on Facebook. I should do it on my blog too. I always seem to forget to put it on my blog. Those 3 promotions that I told you that started today. Oh, I know what the third one was that I forgot to tell you earlier, and that was starting in September. Each week there will be, I think it's 10 or 11 different deals of the week. So I will be posting those as well. So we've got the Perfect Partners, that's the dies that have come out for just 1 month to pair up with some of the stamp sets from the annual catalog. We've got the deals of the week that I mentioned, and now I'm forgetting what the third one. Oh, and then the branded product, the coffee mug and the hat that came out. So all of that will be at least on my social media. In the description of this video, I will list my Instagram, my Facebook, etc. So you'll be able to find everything that I'm talking about. Thank you so much for joining me today. Biggest of hugs to you all. Stay safe and be well.